Hey, and welcome back to Slick Willy Fly. And what are we going to do today? We're going to make an EP Snook Slider. So this is a fly that I basically tie using, on occasion, EP fibers, and sometimes I use Bucktail to make the head. This one is EP. We're going to go ahead and make another one just like it, and then later on I will make a video where I make the same fly using Bucktail. But let's do this fly. So this fly is, my idea for this fly is inshore fishing. Snook, redfish, small tarpon. And because of that, I'm going to put it on a size 2 saltwater hook. And I'm going to put some dumbbell eyes because I want this fly to ride hook side up. But I am going to put a weed guard in it anyway. For thread, I'm going to use 75 denier red, only because I want to end up with a red head. You can use black, you can use white. In fact, you know what? We'll make it with black. I have black ready to go. So we'll go ahead and we'll make this fly with black thread. And I'll make a black head. I think they work equally well. For the tail, I'm going to end up using pink craft fur, which I've already pre-prepped. And I have some flash ready and some rubber legs ready. I have everything pretty much ready to go to make this fly go fairly quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and put some dumbbell eyes. And again, you know, here I have choices. I can use medium brass dumbbell eyes, or I can use lead eyes. In the lead eyes, I go with a small. Actually, these are extra small. The dumbbell eyes, the purpose of the eyes is aesthetic. It makes an eye, obviously. Or, but more importantly, it will keel this fly so that it rides hook up, which is really my most important mission. So placement of the dumbbell eye. I need to place the eye just simply far enough back so that I can build a head and put a weed guard on. That's all I'm trying to do. So I'm going to come back about almost the length of the eye, as crazy as that sounds. That's about a decent enough place to stop and put this. And I'm going to just put it on with some X-wraps like we do all eyes. And I have never ever counted how many X-wraps I put in. I put in X-wraps to where I feel as if it feels nice and tight and we're getting to where I want to have it. And once we get to that point, then what I do is I come in with a little bit of super glue, making sure that this is sitting right where I want it. I give it just a touch of super glue. That was almost too much. And I come in with a few more X-wraps in both directions. And then I go the figure eights, the under the dumbbell eyes, but over the hook shank, which really just draws this in super tight. Perfect. So now I'm going to go ahead and put in that crystal flash, craft fur that I had pre-prepped. Hard for me to tell you how much craft fur, but I mean, if you squeeze it tight, it's not even half a number 2 pencil. So for the length of my craft fur, you know, you've heard me say a bunch of times that I don't like super long flies, but I would say I need at least a hook shank and a half, which is pretty much where I'm holding it. I don't want to get too close to the hook right now because I still have some wet super glue. But what I'm going to do then is I'm going to imagine this point where the eyes begin, and I'm going to go ahead and trim off the remaining craft fur. And now I'm going to do something that I really don't do very often. I'm going to bring my thread right to the eyes. Spin this so that it wraps the way I want. I'm going to bring the dumbbell eyes, the craft fur almost to the dumbbell eyes. And I'm just going to attach it. Couple of loose wraps, making sure that I like where it's sitting, which I do. I'm going to use my fingers to just get it around the hook shank, like so. And now I'm going to go ahead and crank this tight. I'm going to work it all the way back to where the hook starts to bend. About right there. And I think that came out great. Perfect. It's a nice length. So now what I need to do is I need to start applying some of this crystal flash. I have two types of crystal flash. I have one half a strand of silver, which is going to be the first thing I apply. I'm going to apply it first on my side, almost like a lateral line, basically, even though this is not really a bait fish pattern per se. But I'm going to go ahead and put this on, get it locked in nice and tight, just like that. Could bring the remaining to the opposite side, get it tied in tight. Now I can place it where I want it on the hook, which is about the side, just like the other side, just like that. And now I could trim the length. Okay, silver is done. The next piece of the puzzle, I have a couple of strands here. I'm not sure how many, it looks like 3, of pink crystal flash. A little bit different lengths. So I like that, it keeps them a little staggered. And all I'm going to do with this is I'm going to go ahead and put them on the thread. The length looks good. I'm going to take them right to the top of the hook, and I'm going to just capture them. And now I can distribute a little before I really get crazy cranking down on this. And those are locked in. And again, we can just individually come in here and trim up some length. Nice. So now it's time to look at rubber legs. I have two types of rubber legs. I have this silver barred rubber leg, which we'll start with. It's 2 rubber legs that are on there. So I'm going to put them on the thread, making sure that they're about even on either side of the thread. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this right on top. One crank. I'm going to go ahead and make a V with my fingers because of where I want it to end up, and I'm going to just crank that tight. Now the length of this rubber legs, I want them to be shorter than the craft fur, so I'm just going to hold it. I see my craft fur, and I'm going to go ahead and trim those up just like that. So now what I have a little bit of pink rubber legs, which I think look great. And I'm going to repeat the process. I meant to grab 2, I actually grabbed 3, but that's okay. An extra rubber leg doesn't hurt anything. So I'm going to go ahead and put them on top of the hook, capture them. Now I'm going to go ahead and split them, holding them the way I want, and now we can capture them nice and tight, just like that. And again, these will also get trimmed shorter than the craft fur. Awesome. So I have all my rubber legs and all my flash attached. Super simple. So now I have this shrimp dub EP fiber, and I have a couple of leftover pieces that I'm going to start with. This is such a simple tie, just super easy. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to actually trim this. This wire feels a little long. Notice I use my wire cutters. I never ever cut this wire with my good scissors. But I'm going to go ahead and capture that EP brush in shrimp dub pink. This is a really cool color. I don't know if you can see all the flash. There's a lot of built-in flash and blues and purples. It's just a really cool color. I love it. But I'm going to go ahead and stroke everything back. I'm going to get my thread out of the way. And I'm going to start wrapping. The first turn, I kind of wrap a little bit tight. I should say the first 2 turns. Bringing everything to the rear on every turn. And then after this, I guess, 3rd turn, you can start opening up your turns a little bit as you're spiraling towards the dumbbell eyes. It's just so much simpler if you draw the fibers back. Makes it a lot easier to finish off this fly. Now some people will prefer to take the fibers beyond the dumbbell eyes. I'm not in that camp. I like to stop just at the back of the dumbbell eyes where I am now. I like to come back with my thread. When I bring my thread back now, I go under the dumbbell eyes and capture the thread from the EP brush. So I go under again. I'm going to do this a few times. I'm just going to make sure that I get that brush nice and hard. Can go on both sides of the EP wire. Just making sure that that's really good. Now, at this point, I don't cut the brush off. I would rather wring it off for a couple of reasons. When you wring it off, yes, it takes a second to wring it off. But when you do it this way, you don't leave a little metal tag that could maybe break your leader or scratch you, cut you. You don't need that. So there it is. Took a second, but now I don't have a metal tag there. So I clean this up a little better. Now I go back under the eyes, or you can go over, it's irrelevant. And now I just make a head. And I do want to make a little head. It's just for looks. But I'll make a little cone. So I'm going to do a little building up right in front of the eyes. Just like that. That's enough. And then it's a whip finish. Okay, now before I cut my thread, I want to put a weed guard on this fly. So because the fly is going to ride hook up, we're going to go ahead and put the weed guard on the bottom. So I have a piece of hard mono, and I don't really need the full length. I could save this for a second fly. Excuse me, I had little fibers in my mouth. I have my pinching pliers, I don't know what you call it, it's just flat. This doesn't cut. I'm going to take advantage of the natural curl on this mono. I'm going to take the end, just at the end, and I'm going to make a flat spot. I'm going to squeeze this hard, and I'm going to create a flat spot. Just like that. So what I'm going to do with this flat spot, I'm going to use my tool to also put a little bend in it. So what I'm going to do with this flat spot is I'm going to capture it right beyond the dumbbell eyes. Just like that. And I'm going to lock that in. I'm going to take a couple of wraps behind. Just like that. Now I'm going to put one more whip finish in. Making sure I like the way this all looks. And I do. There you are. And now I could cut off my thread. So essentially the fly is done. You could fish the fly. You could trim this guard, weed guard. You could trim it right the way it is right now. Or you can take the next step, which I'm going to take, which is very simply to put a little UV resin on. So I want to make sure that I have all the fibers out of the way. Use my little tool that I like to use. Making sure everything is back and out of the way, just like that. I have this little UV resin. Couple little fibers here. They don't really amount to anything, but I just like my flies to look nice, so I want them clean. So I'm just gonna apply a super light coat of UV resin on the bottom of the eyes here. And I'm gonna go around the knot. And I'll put a drop right between the eyes on top. And now all I'm going to do is I'm going to spin this so that it makes that nice even layer, which it's already done. Looks awesome. Looks perfect. Came out perfect. Now I'm going to get my lamp, holding the weed guard the way I want it. Perfect. This came out great. So the last steps is I'm going to trim the weed guard just a hair longer than the hook. Just like that. And I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to make sure that the EP fibers aren't all trapped. Just like that. And there it is. This is the EP hook Snook Slider. Size 2 saltwater hook. Super simple tie. It's going to look awesome in the water. You know, this fly is going to swim hook up. The rubber legs are just going to help it push a little water. You know, the rubber legs tend to float. So this fly will sink, but the rubber legs are going to want to just come up and flutter. So all these little rubber legs are going to give it great action. This fly is going to look awesome in the water. This is a great fly for any inshore species. Sea trout, snappers, jacks, just about anything will eat this. And it's a great fly. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. It's so important. You help me so much if you like and subscribe. And I'm going to basically do a very similar Snook Slider, but instead of using EP fibers, we'll use Bucktail. And maybe I'll use marabou instead of craft fur. But it's also just an awesome fly. They both work great. The only difference between them is their sink rate. I think the sink rate is the biggest difference between them. They both look awesome in the water and they both definitely work. So thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Don't forget to have a cocktail with me and see you on the next video.